It's been quite a while since we've shared some notes about how our chickens are doing and the chicken composting workflow. And today I was making some nice adjustments in here, renovating and refining some of the design elements and layout. So I thought I would take some notes from that and share them with you around how our chicken composting operation currently is flowing and some design considerations if you wanted to incorporate this with your chicken flock as well. So hope you stick with us. For those of you that are completely new to this channel, we have a chicken playlist that shows just all sorts of experiments and ways that we've been working with these hens for the last few years. You can definitely check that out. But just to show what's happening back here, so this is our normal area where we have compost happening. And what I was working on today is trying to create a little bit more efficiency and organization in how the flow works. And something that came to mind is I've gotten a lot of questions from folks or concerns where they say, well, right now we're feeding our chickens normal layer feed. We want to start doing composting with them, but how do you incorporate it? Or is it all or nothing? And what's really important to remind folks is that you can start a little experiment with adding compost into your chicken routine and change nothing else. So please don't be scared to add some carbon and some food scraps in a back corner of your chicken yard to at least experiment and see how it evolves. You don't have to scrap what you're doing already. In that same theme, there's real encouragement I'd like to offer that whatever your layout is, whatever your design that you're starting to work with, changing it, deciding that some aspect is not good, some aspect needs to be modified, what have you. Every time you change the flow of how compost is moving through your chicken yard, it's an opportunity to feed your hens more food and give them some excitement. So earlier today, as I was going through and taking some crates that were filled with old compost and sticks and debris and dumping them out, there were tons and tons of millipedes and pill bugs and earthworms and sprouts, all sorts of beautiful hidden things. So get a layout that you try, and if it doesn't work, make adjustments. And for example, if I said, well, you know what, I don't want this milk crate to be here, great. They get to eat some sprouts for a little while, move it somewhere else and have it start again. As we come back into the colder months, we'll ultimately move back into using this cattle panel high tunnel as the main composting space for the winter. But for now, we've just left it as a place to store hay and grit and some other resources for the hens. And they've been enjoying a nice, dry, warm spot. And for the summer, we've been keeping the compost in the back corner, which we've done in years past. And I've simplified the workflow in a way where you can see what's going on here. Basically, raw new food scraps, both Sasha and I dump in here. What we try to do is move whatever material has been laying there for, let's say, 4 or 5 days a little further down the line. So the ultimate flow of this is basically, it begins here, day 0, and moves to around here. That's day 3 to 5. Starts getting tumbled down through this pathway. There's a little bottleneck and then sends into here. This is day 7 to 9. And at this point, what we're doing is starting to use our hay fork to sift out the biggest chunks. So for example, where there are ears of corn or sticks or old bones, and we either send them back to the beginning of the compost flow or into these rings on the side. But by about 12 to 14 days or so, the compost material is in great shape to move out of here and get sifted and actually leave or rest for a little while longer. What we try to do is before we add raw new food scraps, in other words, very intense greens in the composting process, we try to add a sponge of browns underneath. So that might be flaked hay, it might be leaf bags that we collect in the fall, sawdust, wood chips, you get the idea. And we put that underneath this material so that as we turn it, well, any juices that leach out will get leached into carbon that can put them to use. Maybe you are even making charcoal and you can add that as a sponge underneath. Once it gets turned to the first round of turning, we can assess whether or not there's any ammonia smell or sour smells or things that feel a little bit off and add more carbon. Sometimes it's in aged wood chips or some aged or finished compost gets mixed into here as well to help inoculate the pile with the beneficial microbes that we want. So anytime there's a stink, it's easy to fix with turning and carbon. Down in here, you can see it's already moved quite a bit along, and this is where we'll add soaked seed so that the hens keep being very interested in this. And you can see we've talked about this extensively in other videos. Sprouts galore in here. Each time we turn this, there's more sprouts. If they run out of sprouts, we can add more soaked seed, and that keeps them interested each time we pile this up. We'll share notes in other videos about different systems that we use to make divisions. You can see in this case we're using a lot of milk crates, but we also use logs and old boards, hay bales, lots of different ways to go about it. You can think about what's free or easily available where you live. And if you haven't tried composting with your chickens, give it a shot. Again, it doesn't need to be something that you scrap your existing system in order to incorporate. Maybe you only have 10 or 20 square feet of additional space that you can try it in. Think about what it would look like to have raw material coming into one area and move down through a little bit of a flow where you can store carbon on the edge and fold it in. Anytime there's a smell, you build it up, they kick it apart, build it up, kick it apart, and you might be amazed just how fast they can generate compost from a waste stream and have so much fun while they're doing it. This is material we moved out of that back area to go through a last channel. Goes right down through here. There's still some more sticks to pick up, no big deal. It'll then go through our compost sifter at the far end and out to the garden. And you can see there's still lots and lots of sprouts for the hens to enjoy. You can get there just by adding seeds and letting them germinate. But the whole process is straightforward. We had no grand design or master plan coming into this. The layout that we have right now may evolve and shift later on, and that's fine. So it's not as though there's some formula you have to follow, but the strongest encouragement I could offer is give it a shot, see how it works, ask some questions, share notes in the comments below about what works for you, what sort of concerns you have, and let's all evolve this idea together of raising our chickens on food scraps, having them help us to make beautiful compost while they make lovely eggs. Thanks for watching.